Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CouchBlab podcast. My name is Ben, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Hope.
I'm Tiffany.
And today, before we get started, I would just like to say, last Saturday, Tobe Hooper, the famous director who made Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist, amongst other movies, sadly passed away, and I would just like to say, may he rest in peace. He brought a lot of happiness to a lot of horror fans everywhere. But today, we're actually talking about a movie that kind of parodies almost his most famous film, which is 1980's Motel Hell, which is kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but a romantic comedy.
And more pigs.
Yep. But essentially what this movie is it's kind of like a satire of a bunch of different horror tropes mixed into like somewhat of a funny like sitcom almost, where these two owners of this motel down the street that also sells very famous like meats, essentially, called Motel Hello, and the O is burnt out on the sign. Get it?
Because of course it is, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's owned by this guy named Farmer Vincent and his sister Ida. And they both of them seem like these actually nice, really old people. Like, they kind of just live there. They do nice service. They're very nice to everyone who comes by. As we see with a family that like comes at the beginning of the movie, and like they seem all fine until the girls like go into the barn and then they get scared by a mysterious figure and a pig head.
Ah, man, who could it be?
I wonder who could it be. Actually, you know, when I think about it, I don't actually know if that was Vincent. Like, we know it's Vincent at the end of the movie, but like when you actually
Could have also been Ida.
Yeah, true, but like when you watch that scene, Vincent's like with the family, like the parents the whole time, so like it's kind of weird, and the shape of like the size of the person wasn't Ida, which is weird when you think about it.
It was probably poor editing. I'd like to chalk it up too much.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like, how could he be in two places at once? It's the editor's fault.
Yeah, true. But what essentially happens is like, we later find out that essentially what these guys do is they trap people on the road, basically having them crash their cars along the road. They take the bodies of people who are knocked out unconscious, and essentially what they do is they'll dig them a hole in their garden area, in this little shack area, put them down until nothing but their head is sticking up out of the ground. They'll slit their throats so they can't scream, and basically they just let their bodies kind of like I guess be like plants almost, where they're just kind of sitting there.
You know, in hindsight, every time I think about that bit, every time I see in a movie where it's like all these like people are getting taken from this specific section, or they're doing the car crashes to take the people, I'm like, you'd think at this point the police would start to be like, this one specific region of area tends to have bodies being taken or people disappearing. So maybe we should investigate or try to figure out what's going on.
But
I usually don't understand why it takes that long to figure it out.
But Tiff, the main police officer in this movie, is the dumb idiot brother that no one likes, but the movie decides to make the hero anyways.
Yeah, like, what the heck happened to Terry's boyfriend at the end of the movie? You know, like, he comes back just to get killed off again. It's a fucking waste.
But, whatever. Let's get back to the main thing, which is this garden. And so what essentially it does is they cut their throats, but they also do, like, this weird trippy, like, glowy, like, color show for them to hypnotize them or something.
It's kind of like a Soylent Green suicide thing, you know. They show it to them before they kill them, so it's more humane that way. That's what it is.
But it's like Soylent Green, except he was showing you one of those cheap glowy light balls you get at Chuck E. Cheese's for like 500 tickets.
I think I bought one of those at Disney when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sell them everywhere.
Yeah, but what essentially happens is one of their victims is this woman, or at least that he finds on the side of the road, but he takes her back to the motel, and instead of like killing her, obviously, they actually just like clean her up and like have her rest and stuff, and then they actually make friends with this girl, and this girl's name is Terry. Yeah. And what essentially is, she can't go anywhere essentially because she was with her boyfriend, and since he's gone, she doesn't really know where to go. So she just Farmer Vincent lets her stay at the motel for them and to help out.
Yeah, because he's creepy and he wants to like get with her. That's why.
That's not creepy. He's nice.
That's so creepy.
He's a nice guy. That's the thing about this movie. Like they're a nice couple when they actually become in like an actual thing. Yeah, like sure you could make the argument that's like it's put on like kind of like out of nowhere, but like as the relationship like goes, it's not really creepy.
I mean, he basically keeps her alive and at the motel just because he's just like, oh, she looks nice. I might have a chance with her. Let's keep her in the hotel instead of ripping her up for my fritters.
Well, it's not like it's not like a Misery situation where he's like having her tied up at a bed and breaking her legs and stuff. And like,
does that make it better though?
No, but I'm just
saying.
Is that
any
like,
better?
At no point does he actually like be creepy. Like he's actually charming and nice to her. Like, and it's not even in like that weird charmy way. It's just like he's just a nice dude.
Listen, man. It's creepy. It's fucking creepy.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying about it.
It's fine. I mean, like, I think it works just because when she does realize what he does and what he is, and essentially, like, it makes it all the more troubling and stuff, because that's the thing, too, like, the villains in this movie are some of the nicest people in the movie, and the hero, quote-unquote, which is the brother cop to Farmer Vincent, Bruce... Yeah, Bruce. He just acts like a jackass through this entire movie. Like, you're supposed to, quote-unquote, relate to him, and you want to see him get with Terry or whatever, but all he does is break into their house, like, creep up on Terry in the shower or bathtub and tell her it's like, Vincent's crazy, you need to get with me, a real man.
I mean, he's not supposed to be he's not supposed to be like the total in the right. He's presented as just another creepy dude. Just a different style of creepy. That whole family's messed up, you know?
I know, but at least Vincent and Ida were, like, nice people. Well, more so Vincent.
Categorize Ida.
As much as nice people will allow, given their character.
I wouldn't categorize Ida as a nice person by any stretch.
Well, she's nice up until the point that she finds out that Vincent wants to date Terry and stuff like that. Because beforehand, like... both of them have a really neat relationship. Like the part where they're actually driving to go, quote unquote, feed the plants, quote unquote. They like their truck drive. They actually have an interesting conversation that just seems like a realistic like sibling relationship. Like they really just want to like do nice things. And so it makes it weirder when you find out what they're actually doing because of how normal these people seem to act. Honestly, I know it's a bit off-putting at the beginning, especially like the beginning scene of the movie where you see Ida sleeping on the couch with a pig.
Yeah. I don't know. Was I supposed to be like shocked or anything that like these people are doing creepy, weird shit in their garden and like they're feeding other people?
It's
like
not
was
really
that
creepy
supposed
because they introduced it to you early on.
Well, like yeah, but like I like, you know, that's exactly it. It wasn't supposed to be this big revelation, like, you know, you catch on real quick.
Well, I think mostly the difference is that unlike a lot of movies that have like this type of plot where it's like, oh, of course they were doing this, and you find out about them, but you at that point usually it's like, we'll take Texas Chainsaw Massacre for example. It's like the Sawyers, most of them are already crazy and are evil to begin with. Like, you obviously can tell from the get-go that something's off about them. Like, the best it put it, almost, is, like, Vincent and Ida are like the dad, almost, from the Sawyer family from Texas Chainsaw, which is the one that tries to pretend to act normal until the cover's been blown, essentially. Yeah, so, well, what essentially it boils down to at the end is when eventually Vincent does get caught and found out about Terry, like, she's like, how dare you? I married you, for God's sake, and stuff like that.
They're not married yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. They aren't married yet. Like, but they assume like they're going to get married at point because it's like he proposes to her and stuff like that.
Yeah, not like it would have been a healthy marriage anyway. Like, he just got done chloroforming her, like, not even a couple hours before.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Well, at that point, it's obviously that he's blown cover. I'm mostly talking about the beginning of the relationship, but whatever. Anyways. They get down to where he's like, well, if you don't want to be a part of this business, I guess I'll just have to kill you, type of stuff. So then that's where Bruce comes in to save the day with a chainsaw. But don't worry, Vincent has a chainsaw and a pig head.
For some reason, I don't know how he could see out of that.
And it leads into the best, like, fucking sword battle in history. Like, they basically are just going at it with these chainsaws to the death.
I don't know what about it, but it's like, it made dueling chainsaws boring. I was just like, get on with it. What the heck?
Well, I mean, there's only real other example I can think of off the top of my head where there was a thing to compare it to, really, and that's actually, ironically, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, which is again a satire of the first movie. So when you think about it, like, there's the only ones you can compare it to is the chainsaw duel from that movie, which is between Leatherface and the sheriff guy.
This scene is like fully cliche. So we have the pig head, like, as a creepy mask, and we have the dueling chainsaws. We've got cool, the fucking lead actress on a conveyor belt heading towards a saw. Like, what the? It's just taken from bits and pieces of other movies.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the satire bit of it. Yeah, but that's
kind of like the satire bit. I know, but, like, there's a fine line, I feel, that needs to be made.
Yeah, but it's fun, especially it's like when, like, obviously it's just a shack. It's like a little warehouse shack almost, kind of like where this is all taking place, yet they still try to make a big epic, like, scene of it, almost like a Robin Hood walking up the stairs sword fighting moment, but since it's all in the same ground, you have, like, Bruce swinging from a meat hook into another, like, room through, like, a opening, and even though it's like he's just like a foot off the floor and that's about it. Like, I enjoyed that bit. It's probably the best part of the movie, quite honest.
I mean, this is supposed to be like a silly, hokey 80s movie, and I guess, if you see it as that, you won't have any problems. It's not going for any semblance of subtlety or,
it holds up what it's
class.
Well.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
Yeah.
I would actually say that pig head, like, chainsaw duel thing is actually probably what made this movie more recognizable nowadays than it was back then, because oddly enough, like, before probably maybe a few years ago, this movie was kind of under the radar, almost as one of those hidden gem type movies, and I could probably dub it up to it having kind of a boring original poster. If anyone's ever seen the original poster to this movie, it's basically a parody of American Gothic, but, like, Vincent and Ida standing in the spots while there's, like, a bunch of people's heads sticking out of the ground, and it's like Motel Hell, and that's basically it. But there's actually been a lot of, like, redesigns. Actually, when we get to talking about how you can get this movie, there's a picture. The new picture they basically advertise this with is, like, Vincent in the pig head and the chainsaw, like, and stuff like that, because I think that's actually the most iconic thing of the movie.
Is it? I think the garden would be more iconic than anything.
The garden.
You can put, like, a creepy mask and a chainsaw on anybody and they'll be threatening, but, the garden, I feel, is a little bit original. Was that a thing in Chainsaw Massacre? I haven't seen it.
No, Chainsaw Massacre doesn't have that.
Does it have chainsaws? Does it have a weird mask on someone's head?
Yes.
Well then.
But it's not a pig head.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Hey, that pig head makes it or breaks it, because it's pretty cool looking, I gotta admit.
I don't know, I've seen a lot of, like, pig metaphors around for, like, people that are evil, and I'm really, it's kind of played out on my end. Maybe it's new to you guys, but I've seen this trope a little bit too many, too many times.
I'm not saying it's new, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's cool looking.
I'd still say the garden's the most iconic part of the movie.
Yeah. Well, I'd probably say the most interesting part about the movie is the relationship between Terry and Vincent, but who's to say?
You mean like that thrown-in B-plot that just exists?
I like it. It's interesting, and I think it actually, like, makes this unique amongst a bunch of other slasher movies at the time, because remember, this is exactly at 1980. Like, only a year later would we be getting what is essentially known as the slasher a week year, because literally in 1981 there was literally a slasher movie coming out every single week, and I'm not kidding, because trust me, there will be a lot of movies from that year alone that we'll discuss on the show eventually, because there were just so many, and this is kind of one of those early ones to catch the early bus into it.
I mean, I don't know. I'm still, mostly convinced they threw in that romantic subplot so that A, we can have Terry alive, and B, we can give her something to do, because she just hangs out at the motel doing nothing.
She can't go anywhere.
I don't know. Doesn't she have a job? Parents? Why does she have nothing?
That actually is a pretty good
It's so
point.
lazy, I feel.
I could have swore they brought up something about how she couldn't get in contact with her parents because, she ran away or something.
I mean, to believe that the person that she was with was the only person that she had to get into contact to, even as far back in the 80s, seems a little bit far-fetched.
Yeah, she's set up that way because the writers made her that way, and it does feel lazy. It really does.
Well, we'll agree to disagree.
I'm staying in the middle of this.
Well, what's your point on it? Why do you think it's necessary?
Well, I just think that it's a unique twist. Again, this movie is a satire, and the fact that it actually throws in some romantic comedy elements into the fray of it, I always think, makes it more enjoyable, just in terms of amongst the gruesome and killings, you have that uniqueness where it's you're actually caring about these characters in more ways than one sort of deal.
Yeah, that is a good point. How many times can you hang a lampshade before you look stupid?
I think that
that's one thing.
with the way that it's written, where it just tries to combine different elements that you don't see that often, especially, with the romantic comedy elements, halfway through this film, the nature of the tone changes despite the fact that it's still a horror movie. And I think what makes it stand out the most is that it didn't try to follow a conventional set of telling the story. I think that because it tried to go off the rails a little bit and find different ways to portray the characters, it's what makes it more memorable nowadays.
Yeah, I would say that too. But I essentially think that that's basically all of that we have to talk about. Oh wait, I forgot one specific thing. So this movie has a scene in it where this couple gets a room at the motel, right? And it's these 80s swinger cliches.
Hey man, I don't judge. Let them live.
Oh my god, is that scene great? It's just you want to talk about probably the most time capsule part about this movie. It's probably that scene right there, because good god.
Man, that couple just wanted a good time and to explore their interests, and now they're dead.
Yeah, but it's...
No, they're still alive, aren't they? They escaped with everyone else?
Yeah, they all killed Ida at the end when they all got out of the ground.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, technically she was still alive when they found her, and then they could have pulled her up, but they didn't. So technically they're complicit in that murder.
I thought they captured her, but I forgot that afterwards, they were able to actually escape.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, they're going to have hard lives since none of them can talk anymore.
I mean, I doubt anyone in the 80s can repair vocal cords.
Yeah.
I don't even think people nowadays can easily repair vocal cords after something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked into it.
Yeah. But, yeah. I think that's basically all we got to say about it. If you want to get a hold of this movie, which I highly suggest you do, there is actually a Shout Factory / Scream Factory Blu-ray of this out.
Good old Scream Factory.
Oh yeah, we'll be talking about a bunch of their stuff a lot because God, they just release almost any hidden gem that people don't really know of that much on Blu-ray nowadays.
They're probably one of the best Blu-ray distributors out there if you're really interested in looking into their content. They make more than just horror.
For a lot of these type of movies we discuss on the horror podcast, yeah, a lot of times I would either go there or Arrow Video being the other one. But if you really want to get the Motel Hell on Blu-ray, I would suggest looking for that Blu-ray. It's got a bunch of extras and stuff like that to it, and it makes the movie look pristine. So if you want to hear additional stuff from us, I would suggest clicking on our link to Patreon, and with only $5 a month, we can also give you extra content as opposed to a bunch of free content we give you guys every other week to begin with, including movie and video commentaries. We also have a show called Girls Night Out, where we discuss like movies that kind of purposely market and advertise specifically to girls, and we have our opinions about those things.
And be sure to check us out also at iTunes. We're also on SoundCloud, and we also have a blog posted up. So be sure to check us out at all of our different channels. Links in the description below.
Yeah. But if you want to see all of our content, mostly try to look us up on YouTube or iTunes. If you're wanting to look us up on SoundCloud, just know that some of our older content will slowly start disappearing as the new stuff comes out, just because at the moment we don't really have the money to shell out to get the version of SoundCloud where we can just have everything posted on there permanently. Until we get there, we're going to have to remove some of the older podcasts to put the new stuff on SoundCloud. But if you want to hear the old stuff, again, you can look us up on the Blogspot and YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll have all of our posted links and available content throughout there if you want to check us out.
Yeah. But with that, I think we just about covered it.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to check us out, and we'll see you next time.
And just remember, it takes all kind of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters.
Yeah, it takes all kind of movies to make this one.
All right.
Exactly.
Then. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.